Welcome to Book Lounge by Libby. I'm Joe, and I am so happy you're here. Today, this is a super fun bonus episode, the kind of which we love to see go out into the space. Today is November and December 2025 book picks, so the releases that we will be adding to our TBR. Joining me today is the wonderful and the amazing Emma. Emma, thank you for being here.
Hi, Joe. Happy to talk about November and December books.
I know there's so much good stuff coming. There's always good releases coming. But before we do that, I guess I have to say the like podcaster things. This episode is only on YouTube. So make sure you are subscribed to the Libby app YouTube channel, like the video, ring the notification bell, leave a comment down below. Tell me what you are adding to your TBR. I would love to hear from you. Are you taking any of these books and putting them on your list when they get released? I would love to hear that from you. So leave a comment. And just a note, this is a little bonus episode for all of you. Season 2 is actively airing, and we are getting back in the swing of adding content like this throughout the year. So fun things to expect to see in the coming months. So when a season is airing, you'll see a video appear like this just on YouTube. So it really benefits you to be following and subscribed in both places. Otherwise, when we don't have a season going on, it'll appear everywhere. But yeah, so quick updates. I'm sure at some point in the future you'll hear me say things more in depth, blah, blah, blah. But today is casual chill vibes. Emma and I both have like little baby colds, but we also have lots of books that we're excited to talk about. Emma, what have you been up to?
So many books. I actually just devoured an entire series of books by an author that has a new release coming out in November and December. So great timing because I'm already feeling the void. It was the Queens and Monsters series by JT Geisinger. It's like a dark mafia romance series. It's not super new, but I just finally read it, listened to the audio. It was absolutely phenomenal. If you need something that has great banter and will maybe make you blush if you listen to
Ah,
the audio,
uh,
highly recommend. I started the series literally 10 days ago and just finished book 4 yesterday. So
oh my gosh. Don't you
highly
love though
recommend.
when you catch up right in time with a new release?
Yeah, so I'm really excited that we've got something new from them coming out soon. I don't have to wait too long to read something new. So,
I feel that. When we're recording this, it is the day before Halloween. Spoiler alert. Sometimes things get recorded in advance. But I am still in the throes of like fully dedicated spooky season reading. So I have eschewed everything I've wanted to read that does not fit into some form of horror, thriller, psychological kind of genre. And I'm still loving it, but I am definitely ready come like November 12th, let's say after the day after my birthday. I'm ready to flip over to some other reads as well.
yeah, we had early trick or treat here. So, I'm like over
It's
pumpkins
over. Yeah.
already. It's over. It's not even Halloween and I have moved on. It's like November 1st. I'm ready to put the Christmas tree up.
I mean, I'm definitely feeling that urge too. I think once it was like, oh, okay, well, we did all of the like Hallmark Halloween things. I'm ready to pack up all the decor and get ready for Christmas time. But you know me, I'm always reading horror. I'm just excited to diversify again. I think that's the
Yes.
big thing. I have loved this is the first time I've ever done like a strict I am only reading this. Like even the graphic novels I was reading were horror or horror adjacent. So it's been interesting to be like in the depths. So now I'm excited to just go back to the like, okay, rules are lifted. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah. What's been the best one you've read this month? Like I say best. Which one you enjoyed the
That's
most?
really tough. Graphic novel wise, I loved Adam Ellis's new scary story collection, Let Me in Your Window. That's it. So it's the like follow up to Bad Dreams in the Night. Uh, I love his art style. You probably know him from BuzzFeed, but it's Let Me in Your Window was so good. So graphic novel wise, that was one of my favorites. Short wise, that also if you're looking for like horror in the Christmas season, I read Victorian Psycho. That was wonderful. Finally read The September House. That was amazing. Um, right now I'm listening to At the Bottom of the Garden. That's really enjoyable too. Honestly, I have been very lucky. I think the biggest thing I could say is I finally read Hill House. Um, which what a treat. I really enjoyed Hill House. Incredible. And I can't believe it took me this long. But on the flip side of that, and I know Joe doesn't usually say anything like what about a book, but I also finally read The Troop, which is on every list. If you Google like the best horror books of all, I feel like The Troop pops up everywhere. Everywhere. Now, of course, Emma, you know me. I simply refuse to read a description. I just go, that book looks like I'd read it. So I never read a single description of The Troop. I knew it was like Lord of the Flies-esque. But I also didn't realize how like Stephen King adjacent it was with the like very multi-POV young boy kind of vibe. And it's also kind of like a parasite infection story, and none of that speaks to me. So it wasn't for me. Like it wasn't for me. That's the kindest way I could put it. I would not say it was bad writing in the slightest. I would not even say it's a bad story or a bad book. Like I did not DNF it because it was also the like, I'll finish this, but I didn't enjoy it. It was, but again, with all of those caveats of like, if all of those words I said are things you like, totally recommend it to you. I did not enjoy it.
Yeah, that's so tricky, especially that fine
Yeah,
line of like, should I just put this aside because I know it's not for me?
right.
And I know we both I
It
think you're
just
better
it
at
wasn't
DNFing
bad.
than me.
I'll
I
be 2 seconds into an
struggle.
audiobook and DNF. Like, if
Yeah.
I if I even catch a whiff of
Mm,
a potential slump from a book, it's out the window. And, like, it did
yeah.
not stop, like, I kept consuming it, so it definitely isn't bad by any means. I think for me, what I hit was more the, like, I was mad that I had built it up in my brain of, like, everyone talks about how good this book is,
Yes.
and they're not wrong. It's just nothing that I enjoy trope-wise. And having gone from, like, banger after banger in everything I love in horror, it was kinda like, "Oh, okay." So, but yeah, I've
No,
I've
I
been,
think
like,
that's
greedy this
totally
season.
fair.
So I mean, like, if you've been, like, chilling on a book, sometimes you should just try it or actually read the description. Most of my problems could be solved by completely reading an email or reading a book description, and you know that all too
Uh,
well.
I mean, no, but I see, here's the thing that I do this as well. I may read the description initially when I see the book or when
Mhm.
someone tells me about it, but then when the time comes to actually read it, I absolutely do not revisit it. I'll just dive right in because I think it's almost better to go in. I mean, not completely blind, but just
Right.
like without having all of the things fresh in your head. It's just a little bit nicer, I don't know, for me to try to get into it, and it's either a good payoff or
I need
bad
every
payoff.
book to have the, like, romance book talker bullet points of, like, if you like Open Door, 5 Pepper Spice, big Black Cat Golden Retriever, this book is for you. I need that trope breakdown for every book because, right, I don't wanna know a single thing about it, but I do want to know what I'm signing up for. Because
Exactly.
if someone gave me the bullet points that said, uh, Parasite, like government inquiry, Stephen King read alike, I would have been like, okay. Anyway, all that to say, we've got some books to share. I'm just going to kick us off. Why not?
Yeah,
Um,
please.
I'm going to start with a title that, don't you love when we look at these words and I go, what are words? How do I read? This is Palaver. It was the second A that threw me off. Palaver by Brian Washington. This will be out November 4th. This is a finalist for the National Book Award for Fiction. It was named a most anticipated book by New York Times, the Boston Globe, Rolling Stone, Harper's Bazaar, Bustle, and Town and Country. It's a life-affirming novel of family, mending, and how we learn to love from the award-winning Brian Washington. In Tokyo, the son works as an English tutor and drinks his nights away with friends at a gay bar. He's entangled in a sexual relationship with a married man, and while he has built chosen family in Japan, he is estranged from his mother in Houston, whose preference for the son's oft troubled homophobic brother Chris pushed him to leave home. Then, in the weeks leading up to Christmas, 10 years since they last saw each other, the mother arrives uninvited on his doorstep. With only the son's cat, Taro, to mediate, the two of them bristle at each other immediately. The mother, wrestling with memories of her youth in Jamaica and her own complicated brother, works to reconcile her good intentions with her missteps. The son struggles to forgive. But as life steers them in unexpected directions, the mother to a tentative friendship with a local bistro owner, and the son to a cautious acquaintance with the new patron of the bar, they begin to see each other more clearly. During meals and conversations and an eventual trip to Nara, mother and son try as best as they can to determine where home really is and whether they can even find it in one another. It's written with understated humor and an open heart, moving through past and present across Houston, Jamaica, and Japan. Palaver by Brian Washington is an intricate story of family, love, and the beauty of a life, among others. So, again, that's coming out November 4th. I don't think this is a shocking pick from me. Uh, but it just sounds really good, and I think especially this kind of like very much lit fic, knowing that I am coming from I have only been reading horror and horror adjacent for like a month and a half straight. Uh, really, I don't know, this just really speaks to me.
The cover is really compelling too. I don't really
Yeah,
know why. It's just really eye-catching.
yeah, something about that like Japanese vending machine at night,
Yeah, and the, like, pop of pink maybe
right?
as well against the darker background.
Yeah,
It's
so
so good.
I'm excited to check that out. What about you? What's your first pick, Emma?
My first one is also a November 4th release, but I realized that I think I'm skewing a little bit more November release than December. But we'll kick this off with I think
I did
w
too.
well,
I think there was also more in November,
more.
and November
Yeah.
4th is the
The
pub day.
day. It's the day. And so this is a big one, and we know, I mean, historical listeners will know that I'm not a huge historical fiction fan, but I love historical fiction when it's, like, combined with fantasy. Couldn't tell you why, it's just better to me that way. But this first one is Fallen City by Adrienne Young. Again, this is out November 4th, and I always do this with fantasy names, so bear with me as I try to pronounce them how I assume the author intended.
Good luck and
Uh,
buckle up.
yeah, but Luca Matthias has one purpose: to carry on the family name, maintaining its presence in the Forum once his powerful and cruel uncle dies. But his noviceship with the city's philosopher places him in the middle of a catastrophe that will alter the destiny of his people. I do love a description where destiny is immediately thrown about. Maris Casperia was raised amidst the strategic maneuvers of the Citadel's inner workings, and she knows what her future holds: a lifetime of service to a corrupt city. But her years of serving as a novice to the last priestess who possesses the stolen magic of the old war has made her envision a different kind of future for the city. When she meets Luca, a fated chain of events, you guys, is set into motion that will divinely entangle their lives. As a secret comes to light, again, do you hear these buzzwords? As a secret comes to light and throws the city into chaos, Luca and Maris hatch a plot to create a calculated alliance that could tip the scales of power. But when an execution forces Luca to become the symbol of rebellion, he and Maris are thrown onto opposite sides of a holy war. As their fates diverge, they learn they are at the center of a story the gods are writing. And even if they can find their way back to each other, there may be nothing left. Fallen
Ooh.
City by Adrienne Young is out November 4th.
You
Yep.
know what? It had all of your buzzwords in it,
Yeah.
and I'm right there with you. I feel like historical fiction, I'm never gripped by until it's got a subgenre included that is one of my interests.
Yes.
Like, I
Oh,
was thinking of it with my current read, it's, like, set in the '70s, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, maybe I do like a bit of it when it's when like one genre kind of overpowers the other. Like the
Yeah.
fantasy overpowers the historical context.
Yes. And the historical context, I like when it does sort of set the tone or the stage for it, but it's not the main focus.
I like a taste. I like that kind
Yeah.
of dabble. Like, right. It's the like what makes Mad Men appealing. It's like time capsule.
Mhm.
And so I think that's usually what gets me too, rather than just like, oh, I'm back in ye olden day or whatever.
100%, because I am a 21st century girly, as we talked about this week during
Oh my
a
gosh.
power
Power
outage.
outage.
So,
Like, I'm
no.
not meant to be churning my own butter.
Correct. But yeah, this one looks great. The cover is cool.
It is.
Yeah, anyways,
I
I'm
mean,
excited. There's a lot of good stuff coming out.
there's a lot of good stuff. I think my first like 7 picks will be on November 4th.
Yeah.
And my next one I think blends really well with yours because look at me. I'm dipping my toe a little bit into the like romantasy realm, fantasy romance, whatever you want to call it. I won't really know what I would classify it as personally until I get into it. But this is Ship of Spells by H. Leighton Dixon. There were a lot of words in this description that really caught me and just made me go, oh, this is a very curious concept.
I was gonna put this on mine, but it was already on yours, so I'm glad you're talking about it.
Good, good. Well, you know the rule. You could always bully me for one of my titles. But but this is following a war-scarred mage, a sentient ship. That's where I was like, "Oh, I'm in," because how is the ship sentient? Uh, and a secret that could drown empires. So I'm gonna call it from that alone that this is definitely romantasy because court intrigue is right at the right at the center. But when Ensign Blue Mage Honor Wren is rescued from the wreckage of her first naval post, she expects death and disgrace. Instead, she wakes aboard the Touchstone, a mythic vessel whispered of in dockside ballads and royal war rooms alike. Oof, tough letters together. With a crew of misfits, a mysterious elven captain, and a mission tied to the Dreadwall, the crumbling barrier that has kept the overland and Nethersea from open war for 100 years. So the tragedy that sank her ship didn't just take lives, it left something behind. Now, Ren carries a secret everyone wants, a magic that's chimeric, arcane, and slowly killing her. But the captain's mission may be her only chance to survive, even if he still doesn't trust her. Caught between privateers, princes, and spies, Ren knows each choice could sink her future or set the sea on fire. Ship of Spells is perfect for readers who crave the raw grit of Arya Stark, the world building of Samantha Shannon, and the slow burn tension of enemies who should never trust or want each other. So that again is Ship of Spells by H. Leighton Dixon, out November 4th.
That sounds so good.
I'm super
Yeah.
into this. I think like the like boy part of me goes, "Ooh, it's on a boat on the water." And that's where like that's like I think my bridge into the romantasy here.
Yes.
Because I haven't been successful. I haven't successfully made my way into romantasy. I've done some, and
Mhm.
and that's not tea. That's not shade or
No.
anything like that. Mostly, as we know, we're both mood readers, but I'm a
Mood
mood reader,
readers.
and if it's not the right time, it's not very easy for me to jump around. And so I'm
Yeah.
thinking this has enough bits and pieces of other things I find really intriguing. And again, sentient ship concept, magic with a K at the end. Like, like there's a lot of things in here that I go, they've built the intrigue. And even though the like secret that could drown empires, the court drama is right up top, it's not very present in that description. So I think like less on the court intrigue and more like what's wrong with her?
Yeah.
What did she absorb? I'm very curious.
Yeah, and this to me, like, I'm literally forever chasing the high of seeing Pirates of the Caribbean for the first time. And
Absolutely
so,
that.
like, we need the Elizabeth Swann, Will
Yes.
Turner style devotion with, like,
Yes.
a ship of pirate yes, so
And
anything
actually give
pirate.
me like I think I'm also so female protagonist coded. Like I want a strong woman leading my stories that
Mhm.
I think that's the other thing. Like Elizabeth
Yeah.
Swann as the main character for all of this. Like that, I know I may not be the romanticy target demo only in the sense that I'm not big on the romance side.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
I'm not big in for like the romance subplot or half of plot, but
Yeah.
I think in this setting, it really speaks to me.
Yeah. Oh, no, there's so many good books coming out soon that I
Too many.
think have Pirates of the Caribbean vibes, so put that on your list for
Oh,
late
my
2025, 2026.
eyes are peeled.
Yeah. Sort of related, but not. But we are keeping up the fantasy, sort of mythological vibes here. And my next pick is I Medusa by Ayana Gray. This is out November 18th. And this cover is so cool. So definitely look it up.
It's such a cool cover, and I can't wait for you to read this description. I did a list for one of our local libraries, and I pulled this for that list, and I just like, ooh, I'm not going to spoil it. It's your turn.
Well, and I think what I enjoy about some of these is we're certainly familiar with Medusa in popular culture, in mythology. And so, right, what is the twist here? What is the angle here for this? So let's get into it. Medi has spent her whole life as a footnote in someone else's story, out of place next to her beautiful immortal sisters and her parents, both gods, albeit minor ones. She dreams of leaving her family's island for a life of adventure. So when she catches the eye of the goddess Athena, who invites her to train as an esteemed priestess in her temple, Medi leaps at the chance to see the world beyond her home. In the colorful market streets of Athens and the clandestine chambers of the temple, Medi flourishes in her role as Athena's favored acolyte, getting her first tastes of purpose and power. But when she is noticed by another Olympian, Poseidon, the course of Medi's promising future is suddenly and irrevocably altered. I love when they use irrevocably in the description. When her locks are transformed into snakes as punishment for a crime she did not commit, Medusa must embrace a new identity, not as a victim, but as a vigilante. And with it, the chance to write her own story as mortal, martyr, and myth. Exploding with rage, heartbreak, and love, I, Medusa, portrays a young woman caught in the cross currents between her heart's deepest desires and the cruel, careless games the Olympian gods play. I like this take so much. So that is I, Medusa by Ayana Gray, out November 18th.
It's so unique. I know retellings are always popular, but this seems so fresh, especially on like a quote unquote villain retell. Oh, I forgot this is YouTube only. You can see me doing air quotes. Uh, but like on a villain retelling, I feel like they always kind of fall the same way. And this, of course, neither of us have read it yet, but this sounds so unique, and I'm very excited. My next pick is not a surprise that this is on my list. I think I scream about Joelle Wellington whenever I get the chance. It's also a November 4th release. So this is a YA pick from Joelle Wellington, Girls Who Play Dead. The cover is everything to me. It is like a vanity setup, gorgeous makeup. It's giving like Polly Pocket kind of vibes to me. It's very Barbie coded. I love Joelle. I, I found her because one of these episodes, their Vicious Games was coming out. I brought it up in one of these lists, sitting with Emma, just like we are right now, and absolutely loved and devoured that. And then when I read her follow up, The Blonde Dies First, there is a Libby mention in that book, which warms my heart. One of the characters went home and did some research in some books on Libby, and so I'm so excited to read her third book. I think it's really exciting, and I have such a spot in my heart for her. I love her writing style. But this is about two siblings who investigate the murder of a friend only to unearth an even more deadly mysteries in their small town in this page turning young adult thriller from the acclaimed author of Their Vicious Games. When Mickey Graves left his small, stifling hometown of Prophet's Lake to live with his estranged mother, he thought nothing could ever make him return for good. Until his sister Kayla's best friend Aaron is murdered. Mickey never worried about leaving Kayla behind at their family owned funeral home, so long as she had Aaron. But when Mickey heads home, determined to help Kayla grieve, that might be Kyla. I'm sorry. I'm reading too fast. But Kayla, apologies. I'll know when I listen to the audiobook. The sister he encounters barely resembles the one he remembers. Mickey decides then and there to do the one thing that seems even more impossible than returning: stay. As Kyla, I'm going to try that one. We'll do a 50-50 here. As Kyla spirals further into her rage and secrets, Mickey realizes the only thing that can help his sister is finding the truth about who killed Aaron. But the more he investigates, the further he's pulled into other ugly mysteries of Prophet's Lake and the beauty brand that is its lifeblood. The town's rot runs deep, and everyone has something to hide. Perhaps no one more than Kyla herself. So that again is Girls Who Play Dead by Joelle Wellington, out November 4th. I'm excited. I you are the one who taught me about like auto buy, auto borrow authors, Emma, and I don't know, it's fun to like have one, and I have quite a few, but like I don't know, to feel like one who I've been with since the beginning is really special.
Yeah, it's nice when some of the OG ones come around with a new release that you can
Yeah,
buy or
definitely.
buy or
Please.
borrow.
Yes, buy or borrow.
I don't know why I said buy. I think like auto buy.
Auto buy is
It's
like the trope
certainly
online, but
auto borrow in Libby.
absolutely.
Well, speaking of auto borrow, I already have my hold placed on this one, literally. And it is the author I was talking about when we kicked off the episode. But Blackthorn by JT Geisinger is out November 4th. This is the author I was telling you about from the Queens and Monsters series I just flew through. They also wrote Pen Pal. If you've seen that on Book Talk, that was quite a twist, by the way, if you haven't read Pen Pal and you're looking for something that will just keep you captivated. But I have high expectations for this next one, Blackthorn. You never forget your first love, especially when he's also your worst nightmare. I don't really need to keep going on, but I will. I'll give you some more here. But 12 years ago, Maven Blackthorn, what a name, fled her small hometown, leaving behind the wreckage of her mother's suspicious death. But now, drawn back for her grandmother's funeral, Maven steps onto Blackthorn soil once more, only to find herself thrust into a fresh nightmare. Her grandmother's body has vanished. The Blackthorns immediately suspect the Crofts, the ruthless titans of Croft Pharmaceuticals, whose bitter blood feud with the Blackthorns, wow, bitter blood feud, was harder to say than I thought, has spanned generations. But when Maven comes face to face with Ronan Croft, the son of her mother's suspected killer, and the only man she ever loved, she discovers the forbidden passion they once shared is as alive and dangerous as ever. As long buried family secrets claw their way to the surface, betrayal lurks behind every whisper, and old vendettas ignite anew. The deeper Maven digs for answers, the more treacherous the game becomes. And the one man she can never seem to escape is hiding a truth that could burn their whole world down. In a town where the dead won't stay buried, is love salvation or the deadliest game of all? So this is Blackthorn by JT Geisinger, out November 4th. It is a dark gothic romance. There are some content warnings, so be sure to check those out before you dive right in. But this does have the tropes listed. So for those of you that want them, revenge, touch her and die, shadier than shade hero, forbidden romance, grumpy, plot twist galore, Beauty and the Beast, enemies to lovers to enemies to question mark. So I cannot wait for this one. Again, this is Blackthorn, out November 4th.
I love that. So I'm gonna bump up one of my romances to like meet you with. It comes out on my birthday, November 11th. This is classified as YA. I would say this is the like teeter-totter line of we haven't fully developed new adult yet because this is like a college situation. But this is My Roommate from Hell by Cale Dietrich. It Yeah, from that title alone, and then the cover is so good, but it's a swoon-worthy YA rom-com about an ambitious college student whose plans get derailed when he discovers his roommate is the Prince of Hell. Owen is not going to college to have fun. Nothing is going to stop him from achieving his goals. Study hard, get a good job, and set himself up for the rest of his life. The last thing he needs is to have a loud, obnoxious, and an infuriatingly hot roommate, especially since said roommate just so happens to be the Prince of Hell. Prince Zarmenis has come to Point University for the first ever Earth Hell Exchange program, and he's determined to make the most of it, which may or may not include wild parties, bringing in random boys to his and Owen's room, and accidentally setting Owen's furniture on fire. Sparks fly, literally, as Owen and Zar clash, but Zar's actions threaten to not only ruin Owen's peaceful college life, but demon human relations as well. To clean up his image, he asks Owen to be his fake boyfriend and teach him how to be a better human in exchange for an internship that will secure Owen's future. That, and Zar will consider being a better roommate. A deal is struck, and the two start pretending to be in a relationship where they each have agendas of their own. Only Owen has a secret. Dating his mortal enemy, even if it's fake, is the most fun he's ever had. Charming and fun, My Roommate from Hell is a rom-com with a magical twist. Think just one bed, but that bed is in hell, surrounded by fire and brimstone. So that is My Roommate from Hell by Cale Dietrich, out November 11th. I know. It's
That's
ridiculous.
but what a take.
What
And
a
that
take.
certainly does match the vibes of what I shared as well. So
Sorry
keep
about it.
that going. Keep that going. I was gonna see if I had something else that sort of stayed. Oh, I do have a couple that stay in that vibe. If we want to keep that mood going a little bit instead of hopping over to a light-hearted romance, maybe we'll save that for the end. My next pick is also out on November 4th. Whoops. But that's gonna be a big day, and it's We Fell Apart by E. Lockhart. So if you are familiar with We Were Liars, that was a huge, huge, huge atmospheric gothic-y YA book from many years back. They just made it a TV show, I think on Prime, but we sort of return to that same world here. And so the invitation arrives out of the blue. In it, Matilda discovers a father she's never met. Kingsley Cello. I'm gonna assume that's how you pronounce it 'cause it's
What a
spelled
name.
Celllo, cello. Kingsley Cello is a visionary, a reclusive artist. And when he asks her to spend the summer at his seaside home, Hidden Beach, Matilda expects to find a part of herself she's never fully understood. Instead, she finds Mir, her long lost open hearted brother, Brock, a former child star battling demons, and brooding wild Tatum, who just wants her to leave their crumbling sanctuary. With Kingsley nowhere to be seen, Matilda must delve into the twisted heart of Hidden Beach to uncover the answers she's desperately craving. But secrets run thicker than blood, and blood runs like seawater. Everyone here is lying. So, if you are intrigued by the We Were Liars novels, dive right back in to this with We Fell Apart. Again, that's by E. Lockhart, out November 4th.
I mean, it's gonna be a good time. Who doesn't love returning to like a classic series that they enjoyed?
Yep, honestly, and the vibes are always high in an E Lockhart for me,
Production,
so
yeah.
I cannot wait to sort of get back to the spirit of We Were Liars with this novel.
Oh, I love that. That'll be so fun, and only days away from the time of recording. Speaking of that, I am back to November 4th. I jumped ahead a couple picks to match romance for romance. But this is me being back on my bullshit. Here comes a horror for you. From Christina Henry, The Place Where They Buried Your Heart, out November 4th. I love horror. I love horror. I love a horror thriller. There is no doubt in my mind. I feel like I have to say that here always, though, because this podcast is what made me realize that I love horror so much as a reading genre. And Christina Henry has never disappointed me thus far. But this is a story about a woman who must confront the evil that has been terrorizing her street since she was a child in this gripping haunted house novel from the national bestselling author of The House That Horror Built and Good Girls Don't Die. Loved both of those, and I love a haunted house story. So, on an otherwise ordinary street in Chicago, there is a house, an abandoned house where once upon a time, terrible things happened. The children who live on this block are told by their parents to stay away from that house. But of course, children don't listen. Children think it's fun to be scared, to dare each other to go inside. Jessie Campanelli did what many other older sisters do and dared her little brother Paul. But unlike all the other kids who went inside that abandoned house, Paul did not return. His two friends, Jake and Richie, said that the house ate Paul. Of course, adults didn't believe that. Adults never believe what kids say. They thought someone kidnapped Paul or otherwise hurt him. They thought Paul had disappeared in a way that was ordinary, explainable. The disappearance of her little brother broke Jessie's family apart in ways that could never be repaired. Jessie grew up, had a child of her own, kept living on the same street where the house that ate her brother sat, crouched and waiting. And darkness seemed to spread out from that house, a darkness that was alive, alive and hungry. So, again, that is The Place Where They Buried Your Heart by Christina Henry, out November 4th. What about that isn't perfection? Like, what about that description doesn't say, I need to read this stat? So, hold is already placed.
Yeah, that sounds like the perfect vibe. So good. To try to keep up those vibes still and not go back to something super lighthearted, I'm going to talk about my first December pick. We're kind of jumping ahead a little bit here, but we're going by vibes. So bear with me. And that's Something Wicked by Fallon Ballard. This is out December 2nd. So early December release, not too far to wait. So the country of Avon is in deep turmoil. The uprising has overthrown Avon's monarchical rulers, and a decree has been issued. Candidates for the first presidential election will be selected by the completion of a special task to kill the former monarch of their home province. Callum, the son of the recently dethroned king, is determined to be in the running, but coming to terms with patricide will require the help of Lady Catherine, a gifted courtesan at, oh goodness, we've got a French term, la, I can't, I can't do it, la
Uh-oh.
puissance,
Oh, puissance. How is it spelled?
la puissance. It's mostly just me being embarrassed at trying to pronounce the French. But Lady Catherine, a gifted courtesan at Avon's premier sex club. We're getting spicy here, folks, for December. Lady Catherine has always had the magical ability to manipulate the emotions of anyone who experiences a. I'm like, you guys, why am I blushing? I'm an
I just
adult.
hold, I just opened the description. I went, truly right as you were getting there, and I went, oh,
See, this is
okay.
where my downfall is because I read the description and was like, "Yeah, okay," and then forgot I would need to read it aloud. But Lady Catherine can manipulate the emotions of anyone who, experiences moments with her in the club. If Callum can only open up to Kate, he will be able to commit the newly fated murder without suffering the guilt and take his place as the rightful candidate from his province. But Callum has a deep seated mistrust of the gifted, and the last thing he expects is to be confronted with an undeniable connection with Kate that neither of them understands or wants. With the fate of the country at stake, Callum and Kate search for ways to bear themselves to each other and discover a darker force building within La Puissance, one that might ruin the future of Avon forever. To stop Avon from falling to ashes, they must sacrifice everything they have, even if it requires betraying each other. That is Something Wicked by Fallon Ballard, out December 2nd. I forget that I'm an adult, and, I don't know why that just I, like, immediately got embarrassed.
You know what? Sometimes we become kids again, and that's okay.
Uh
But la puissance, it means the power.
yeah,
Ooh, what a name.
and the cover, admittedly, is very intriguing, so I had to put this one on my list for sure, even though I apparently can't read the description, but go check out the description for yourself.
A gorgeous cover design, a fascinating concept. I don't know if I have anything that quite matches that vibe, but I'm still on November 4th here. I think this is my last November 4th. This is The Dinner Party by Viola Van de Sant. Uh, I the cover got me because, it's like very simple and very elegant. But then also once I started reading the description, I went, oh, okay. So this is for fans of Cleopatra and Frankenstein and Assembly. So a little timely of, some of the film releases right now. It's an intimate and darkly propulsive story told over the course of a dinner party. I love that very like encapsulated story moment from its careful preparation through its explosive, irrevocable finish about the tensions of love and autonomy, grief and female rage, and the surprising moments where they come crashing to the surface. Franca left the Netherlands behind to start her new life in England with Andrew. Andrew, whose parents lived in South Kensington but had a flat their son could borrow nearby. Andrew, an old fashioned British gentleman who encourages her to not work, but to instead focus on her writing. Andrew, who suggests a dinner party with his colleagues to celebrate their big upcoming launch. A dinner party that Franca must plan and shop and cook and clean for. A dinner party during a heat wave when the fridge breaks, alcohol replaces water, and an unexpected guest joins their ranks, upending the careful balance between everything Franco once was and now is. Expertly weaving the past and present with precision and delicious tension, The Dinner Party is a thoughtful and thought provoking look at female rage, body autonomy, and all the concessions women make throughout their lives, big and small, until the surprising moment when they decide they can take them no longer. So I'm very excited for this one. I don't get to read much by way of like the whole story in one moment. So I'm very excited to check this out. That again is The Dinner Party by Viola Van de Sant, out November 4th.
I said, "Ooh," and then realized I was muted. That
I
sounds
saw
so
it.
good. We saw the "ooh," but we didn't hear it.
Yeah, I'm intrigued.
Uh, I wanna keep the vibes going because, apparently the vibes are important. And my next book is similarly a little bit more on the suspense, darker side, and that is Love Me, Stalk Me by Laura Bishop, out December 2nd. Now, if you are a fan of Lights Out by Nevessa Allen or You by Caroline Kepnes, I am a fan, an extreme fan of both of those things. This is a dark rom-com debut. So, yes. When an overworked department store manager, Izzy Russo, downloads an AI boyfriend app to fill the emotional void left by her inattentive real one, she thinks she's just venting to a harmless chatbot named Caleb. Air quotes, since you can see them. And in reality, she's been pouring her deepest, dirtiest fantasies into the ears of Callahan Knight, her store's brooding new head of security. What a name, you guys. Because Cal, he's been listening. The moment he saw Izzy, he knew she was his. Did he hack her phone? Absolutely. But who could blame him? A woman like Izzy deserves to be cherished by someone who truly knows her worth, and he'll do anything to be that man. So when Izzy finally sees her boyfriend for who he really is and the danger she's unknowingly been caught up in, Cal is ready to protect her no matter the cost, even if it means revealing the truth. She might not have meant to build the perfect man, but he's here now and he's never letting her go. Now, I know this may or may not be your cup of tea, the stalking called into question, but certainly an interesting take on this type of trope. I can't wait. Personally, I
Yeah.
suspend my disbelief at a lot of these things. A lot of my feminism leaves when I read romance, but that doesn't mean I would approve in real life. But this
Right.
is,
I think that's a really
you
important
know,
point to make though, that like there is a point where we have to say like entertainment, and there's like the responsibility to say like, oh no,
yes,
this isn't okay in reality,
not at
but
all.
I'm allowed to love and be entertained by this.
But yes, we suspend our disbelief and our real life ick that would come from many of these things. And Love Me, Stalk Me by Laura Bishop is out December 2nd. If you've listened to or read Lights Out or any of the other Navessa Allen books, again, that does sort of walk that fine line in terms of storyline, but when it's well done, it is very entertaining, to say the least. So I hope that with the amount of humor that I think is in this, it certainly walks that line of knowing full well that none of this is okay. But in this fictional world, we're going to let some of that go. And what a weird thing if you think you're talking to just a chat bot and it's actually somebody that you know. So that could certainly
That would
happen.
be wild.
May it never. It is not in the dark romance sense, but sort of the, hacked into your emails, kind of browsing your chat. It is reminding me faintly of Attachments by Rambo Rowell, even though
Oh,
that's
yeah.
entirely a different vibe. But just if somebody is actually reading your, work emails or your AI chatbot, I guess you never know.
You never know. I am gonna make the weirdest segue to my next pick because I don't have anything that quite matches that vibe, but I think in some ways this does because this does deal with, like, terrifying technology and, what are we okay with and what might we not be okay with. This is The Merge by Grace Walker coming out November 11th. It is a thrilling and ominously prophetic debut set in a world where Earth and its resources have been pushed to the breaking point, giving rise to a revolutionary and highly controversial procedure in which two people's consciousness can be combined to exist in one body. How far would you go to never say goodbye? Lori is 65 and living with Alzheimer's. Her daughter Amelia, a once fiery and strong willed activist, can't bear to see her mother's mind fade. Faced with the reality of losing her forever, Amelia signs them up to take part in the world's first experimental merging process for Alzheimer's patients, in which Lori's ailing mind will be transferred into Amelia's healthy body and their consciousness will be blended as one. Soon, Amelia and Lori join the opaque and mysterious group of other merge participants: teenage Lucas, who plans to merge with his terminally ill brother Noah, Ben, who will merge with his pregnant fiancee Annie, and Jay, whose merging partner is his addict daughter, Lara. As they prepare to move to The Village, a luxurious rehabilitation center for those who have merged, they quickly begin to question whether everything is really as it seems. An exhilarating, immersive debut from an astonishing new voice, The Merge is a personal story of love, family, and sacrifice, as well as thought provoking examination of the limits of control, resistance, and freedom in our modern world. So a light tie there. But that again is The Merge by Grace Walker, out November 11th. This sounds terrifying to me, but I also really want to see how they examine the like politics is the only word I can think of. The like, what does this author think this process looks like, combining consciousness, like the ramifications? I want to hear what the questions brought up are. So yeah,
That sounds phenomenal. And to keep I'm like, "No, I can't do
I
it."
don't even think
It
I
doesn't
don't even think
we
there's
don't
a
have to
vibe
match
train
the
to follow
vibe.
that. Yeah.
So we're just
Because like honestly, my next pick would probably have matched your last pick more, but
Okay.
that was my last November book and then I move into December, so I'm like,
Yep.
there's a battle within me.
No, we're just gonna go right on to the rest of our picks. My next pick is a highly anticipated release for me and my book club. Shout out to the neighborhood book club. And that is Brimstone by Callie Hart. This is out November 18th. This is the sequel that began with Quicksilver. You may have seen that book all over everywhere last year with a few different covers. So if you have not read the first book, maybe skip ahead because, as always, reading the description of the sequel does spoil a little bit, although it is a romance, so I don't know how much it spoils, but again, just that's your warning to jump ahead if you haven't read that yet. So, this is the continuation of the book that began with Quicksilver. I forget The fantasy names are my downfall. Again, Saris Fane doesn't want power. The very last thing she needs is her name whispered on an entire court's lips. But now that she's been crowned queen of the blood court, she's discovering that a queen's life is not her own. A heavy weight rests upon her shoulders. Her ward and her brother need her back in her homeland, but the changes that have strengthened Saris have also made her weak. Born under blazing suns, Saris will surely die if she makes her way home through the Quicksilver, which means that once again she must send someone else in her stead. Kingfisher of the Adjun Gate has defeated armies and survived all manner of horrors, but traveling back to Zilverin with Carrion Swift might just be the death of him. The mail just will not shut up. Hidden dangers await them down the narrow alleyways of the Silver City. Unfolding secrets pose impossible threats. Fisher must wrangle the smuggler and accomplish his goals quickly if he wants to see his mate again. A darkness falls across Wyvella. The realm and their friends are in danger. Together, Saris and Fisher will pass through fire and brimstone to save them. So, again, we pick up where things left off with Quicksilver. We've got lots of journeys, lots of things keeping folks apart, lots of tasks to accomplish while the entire realm is in danger. All of the things I love in a fantasy romance. So, Brimstone by Callie Hart is finally out November 18th. Cannot wait to pick that back up.
I love that. I don't have any fairy court intrigue books for you, but I can bring a vampire book. This is The Last Vampire by Romina Garber, out December 2nd. It's a YA fantasy romance. It's Pride and Prejudice meets Crave when Austen loving Lorena Navarro attends a new boarding school expecting to find her own Mr. Darcy, but accidentally awakens the world's last vampire instead. Pride comes before the fall. When a boarding school opens in a once condemned Victorian manor buried in the woods of New Hampshire, Austen loving Lorena Navarro enrolls in hopes of finding her own Mr. Darcy. Instead, she stumbles across a coffin and accidentally awakens the world's last vampire. After hibernating for nearly 3 centuries, William Pride is desperate to find his family and clueless about the modern world. Relying on Lorena for more than just blood, he enrolls at the school to catch up on all he's missed. Soon, William uncovers a chilling truth. He is the last hope for his kind's return to power. Torn between protecting the humans around him and fulfilling his fate, William must make a choice that could change everything. Will he sacrifice his species for love, or will he embrace his dark destiny at last? Again, that is The Last Vampire by Romina Garber, out December 2nd. It just makes me think of like my teen days with the my tween and teen days, honestly, with all the like post Twilight vampire dupes. Uh by the vibes from this, not saying at all that this is derivative. It sounds really fun and just kind of cutesy. And again, someone reset the counter. Joe mentioned Twilight in an episode. We're back to 0 days.
You know what? I love it. I'm glad you mentioned it while I was here. I don't have any vampire vibes, and we are finally to my romancy, straight romancy vibes.
Okay.
Or by that I mean sans fantasy. We've got classic, I say classic romance, if you will. The first one I want to share is Daddy Issues by Kate Goldbeck. This is out November 18th. This follows a jaded 20 something who's stuck living at home with her life on pause. I do kind of love this setup for a story. So at 26, Sam Pulaski is expected to be thriving in her academic career, living on her own in some exciting city. But expectations meet reality. She has massive student loan debt from studying art history, a dead end service industry job, a situationship that's equal parts intoxicating and toxic. And she's been crashing in her mom's condo. At least it's not a basement for the last 5 years. If she can finally get accepted into a PhD program and get out of Ohio, love you, Ohio, The adult life that's been on hold for half her 20s will finally begin. Her mom's new neighbor, Nick, is the ultimate grown up. His adult life began the moment his 9-year-old daughter, Kira, was born. Her happiness is Nick's only priority, especially in the wake of divorce. There's nothing he won't do for Kira, including giving up his globe-trotting career for something more stable, like managing a chain restaurant. Sam has zero interest in the ultra dependable guy pushing 40 next door. Frankly, she's a little afraid of kids. But with just one thin wall separating two condos, Nick proves difficult to avoid. His quiet confidence forces Sam to grapple with the other men in her life, her emotionally derelict friends with benefits, and her actually derelict father. As her unexpected connection with Nick heats up, and steams up his minivan windows, Sam finds herself falling fast for a man whose life is steady and settled while hers is anything but. So that is Daddy Issues by Kate Goldbeck, out November 18th. I do love that sort of coming of age 20s era where
Yeah,
you
like
do feel like,
second coming of age, or I don't
yeah,
even know if that's right, but
it new into adulthood, you feel like you should really have everything together. And as someone in their mid-30s, I can tell you I still don't feel like I have everything together. So, I think this sounds like a very relatable premise that I think a lot of people sort of have to grapple with the expectation of just where you think you're meant to be at certain ages or stages. And that sort of has to reconcile with what may be the reality. And I do love a good romance and,
and that sounds like as cliche as I could make it, good romance. Like,
it does.
it's got
It
all the
does.
trappings you need.
It really does, and the cover, if you look, it's a little bit comic I mean, a little bit. It's comic booky and I intriguing, and it kind of gives me old school romance vibes at the same token. So, that is Daddy Issues, again, out November 18th.
Oh, so good, so good. Of the times for sure. I love that cover. You're right. Who would I be if I did not bring a YA thriller to the mix? This will be out December 2nd. I love to get like a little claustrophobic with some wintry thrillers. I'm not saying this is set in winter. I'm just saying I love to pack my winters full of thrillers. This is The Obsession by Natasha Preston. Someone is always watching. Ooh, right off the jump. Connie never asked to be famous, but thanks to her mother's relentless vlogging, she and her sister Isla, yeah, Isla, have spent their lives under a virtual microscope. Every smile, every moment curated for clicks. Every stranger online thinking they know them. Then local girls who look just like Connie, start dying one by one. As the bodies pile up and the spotlight turns sinister, Connie is forced to confront the terrifying truth. Someone isn't just watching, they're planning. Again, like, cliche for cliche, that sounds like such a cliche thriller, but I love the twist of what is the reality with all of these family vloggers? What are the dangers that we're not thinking of? So again, that is The Obsession by Natasha Preston, out December 2nd.
Ooh, that sounds good. I do like that kind of story as well for the thriller setting.
You can't go wrong.
You really can't. I don't really think you can there. I'm gonna try to keep well, the rest of mine is a little bit more romancy and humor. So we're ending on some light notes. If you want something hopefully delightful for the end of year reading. The next one I want to talk about is another November release. This is Honeymoon Phase by Amy Dawes. This is out November 11th. So a little bit of a mix up there for a different publishing date. Now, this is the third book of the Mountain Men Matchmaker series, but I would argue that you don't need to read things in order. It's just certainly there for those that love that added layer to the story and those sort of character mentions and setting mentions. But this is honeymoon phase. So when Addison Rowe Monroe tells me she's going on a husband hunt at the local lumberjack competition so she can inherit her father's lumber yard, Desperate times call for desperate measures. She's sworn off romance, says she's been through enough tragedy. So I offer myself as an alternative. That's what best friends are for. But my stubborn friend, who would rather drive a forklift than get her nails done, refuses to accept my help. And now I find myself training to become a lumberjack. I refuse to let Ro hitch her wagon to some hulking axe wielder who might be a serial killer. She means too much to me, and I swear there are moments where she looks at me like I mean something more to her, too. On the surface, I'm offering a marriage of convenience to protect her, but the truth is, I'm hopelessly in love with my best friend. So if I have to marry her and move her up to Fletcher Mountain just to see if she could love me back, so be it. Because my only regret would be losing her forever, and that's a fact. I love a marriage of convenience and also a sort of friends to lovers trope. Yes, yes, the added element of the lumberjack competition seems to add a little bit of humor. I can't wait for this return to the series. This is Honeymoon Phase by Amy Dawes, out November 11th.
I feel like I just want to be like pumping my fist and chanting trope, 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 because we love it. And all of those were great ones. I'm gonna go back to November. I have a November 4th that somehow was out of order in my list. Haha, surprise. This is my last YA pick. It's a YA fantasy romance yet again. It's listed as fiercely feminist as it is hopeful. It's a speculative, sapphic YA romance from the author of Four Girls Who Walk Through Fire. It's spontaneously a modern day war cry and a PSA that there is a wolf who slumbers inside us all. We only have to wake her. So this is Hear Her Howl by Kim DeRose, out November 4th. Rue's life is over. After she's caught kissing a girl behind the Sunday school classrooms, she gets exiled to Sacred Heart so she can be transformed into her mother's idea of a respectable lady. The irony of being sent to, of all places, an all girls Catholic boarding school is not lost on Rue, especially when she falls irreversibly under the spell of its ethereal, ferocious outcast, Charlotte Savage. But there's more to Charlotte than her sharp gaze and even sharper tongue. Charlotte Savage is against all logic, a werewolf. And Rue can become one too. Any woman can, if she's brave enough to heed the wild that howls inside her. She and Charlotte aren't alone in answering the call, and upon forming a wolf pack of fearless girls who refuse to remain docile, Rue realizes she couldn't have been more wrong. Her life isn't over, it's just beginning. This world is not kind to women, much less wild women. But God help the man who tries to cage the girls of Sacred Heart. So again, that is Hear Her Howl by Kim DeRose, out November 4th. Love the cover, love the concept, love the take of werewolf, not in the sense of like traditional werewolf, but like anthropy as a resolve. It makes me think of like a different lens on Night Bitch. Like there's so many things here that really are compelling to me. So I hope you give that one a try and enjoy. But Emma, I think what we only have like two picks left. Are we
Yeah,
are we
we
winding
do. We're
down?
winding
Ah,
down. We are
oh,
winding down. And I'm winding down my pick with a fiction debut, which I don't always do. And,
yeah,
but
not your
I
usual.
saw this and just was very intrigued by the cover, the description, and so on. And so this is Grape Juice by Eliza Dumais. This is my last November release with that November 4th publication date. This is an interesting debut because the author is a wine and dating columnist. So you'll see where both of those real life interests merge in this fiction debut. Alice is bored, romantically, professionally, creatively. So when her boss, a prominent wine importer, suggests she work a grape harvest in France, she sees it as a welcome opportunity to course correct her apathy. Though Alice is plenty skeptical of the drink, pray, love premise, she begins to let her guard down when she finds herself picking Riesling and practicing her French alongside a charming cast of international characters and most notably, why did I pick all the French ones? Hon Henry, the vineyard owner's nephew, who's just as lost as she is. So if you're looking for something that's a little bit like Under the Tuscan Sun, we've got the European adventures, we've got the wine element. This just sounds like a fun time. And that's Grape Juice by Eliza Dumais, out November 4th.
I have two immediate thoughts that show how insane my brain is. First, once you said Under the Tuscan Sun, I had every urge to like light a cigarette and go, I haven't heard that name in years. Like,
Yep.
like that
Yep.
was what came to mind immediately. As I said, I am built unhinged.
No.
Uh, but it was like, wow, what a pull, what a throwback. And then second, in high school French, well, I guess it started middle school. My French name was Henri.
Was it
Because
really?
yeah, because we got to pick names. It wasn't like, "Oh, we're just, like, translating your name into what the French would call you."
Right.
We picked names from a list. Henri.
That's funny. That's yeah, and
I know. Can't explain it.
that's so hilarious tie-in.
But that sounds great. I love this approach, the author being, like, a food and bev columnist. I'm
Yeah.
interested to see how writing journalistically translates into narrative storytelling in a
Yeah.
trad pub sense.
Yeah, and I think it certainly sort of ties together the romance with the sort of like armchair travel, let's take you to
Yes.
wine country in France, which
Yeah.
I would much rather be in right now than winter in Ohio. So any of that escapism is certainly high on my
Welcome.
list for winter.
Absolutely. Reading out of season is a delight when you live in a cold climate. So my penultimate pick is one where, of course, the title got me because this is Everyone in the Group Chat Dies by L.M. Chilton. What a title. This is out December 9th. So you've got to wait a little bit for this one. But as we said, November, December picks. This is a fiction, mystery, suspense thriller, as I just read off the subjects to you. But from the breakout author of Swiped comes a compulsively readable, surprisingly funny, and genuinely thrilling page turner about a TikTok true crime investigator, a 90s serial killer that may not be as dead as everyone would like, a text thread from hell, and long buried secrets that won't stay in the grave where they belong. From that alone, that like baby description has me ready. But Kirby Cornell needs a break from everything. Her crumbling apartment in a sleepy town of Crowhurst, famous for its bucolic countryside, and second rate serial killer from the 90s, her dead end job, her sleazy landlord, her messy roommates, and most of all, the terrible thing they all did. Luckily, that hasn't caught up with her just yet until a new message on their old group chat pops up. Everyone in the group chat dies. It's the first text her ex roommate Esme has sent for ages, but that's not the really weird thing. The really weird thing is Esme died 12 months ago. That's where they leave us off because then it switches over to the don't miss the laugh out loud thriller from L.M. Chilton. Everyone in the group chat dies. A murder mystery that fuses the comedy of Friends with the serial killer thrills of I Know What You Did Last Summer. So, again, that is Everyone in the Group Chat Dies by L.M. Chilton, out December 9th. Who doesn't need like a delightful mystery thriller that's clearly got some comedy and 90s vibes to it? Like I said, we're going into this is like my season, so by the time this is coming out, I'll definitely be looking for some mystery thrillers.
I was gonna say, I love the way that that sounds,
Right?
and I'm a little bummed that they intentionally leave us hanging. I want a little more, but it's
I
okay.
know. I'm like, what was that
That's the
cliffhanger
point.
description? I know
That is the point.
mysteries, especially mysteries that sound like this is being set up. You can't put too much in a description, otherwise you've given it away.
Exactly. So, can't be too picky there. This is my final pick because I trimmed some. I just feel like we could talk all day and we can't. But I wanted to end on a December 30th release. So you'll get your romance in right for the end of the year. This is In Your Dreams by Sarah Adams. And this is from one of my favorite romance series of the last couple of years, the Rome, Kentucky series. So you may be familiar with When in Rome, Practice Makes Perfect, or Beg, Borrow, or Steal. You don't have to read these together if you don't want. I think they do stand on their own. However, it does obviously lend to the story that you already know a little bit about these characters and you're familiar with Rome, Kentucky. But I think you could dive in wherever suits you. So, Madison Walker left Rome, Kentucky, determined to make it in the culinary world. But after years of chasing success in New York, all she has to show for it is her shattered confidence and a desperate need for a fresh start. Coming home isn't part of the plan until an unexpected job offer lands in her lap, the head chef position at a new farm to table restaurant in her hometown. The only catch, it comes from James Huxley, owner of Huxley Farm, her brother's best friend. James has always played it safe, keeping his head down and running his family business. But when Madison's happiness is on the line, he's willing to take up his estranged brother's offer to launch a restaurant. James has loved her quietly for years, knowing she's never seen him as more than an annoyance. But now that she's back, he's determined to change that. Madison and James are tasked with launching the dreamy restaurant in record time. But keeping things strictly professional soon becomes impossible, and the town can't help but meddle in their relationship. As opening night looms closer, Madison's fears threaten to hold her back. When an unexpected disaster collides with a long simmering sibling feud, both Madison and James will have to face their biggest insecurities and decide if love is worth the risk or if some dreams are safer left untouched. That is In Your Dreams by Sarah Adams, out December 30th. I cannot wait to see what happens with these characters. I will say it's not a spoiler that we've seen maybe some bits and pieces of this throughout the other books, but I
Yeah.
am very excited to have them front and center.
Love a new entry to a series. I also love the concept of like, yeah, it's a series in the sense that it's all taking place in the same location and there will be cameos you may recognize, but that
Yep.
you could absolutely just go, whatever, this sounds interesting, and either go back later or just read the one.
And I think you can. I I know that there are certain things that are maybe spoilers, but as a romance reader, I don't think it's a spoiler to say that the
That they get
expectation is
together at
that
the
they get
end. Yeah.
together. So, if you wanna see how all of these characters got together in order, I would certainly do that, but I don't think you necessarily have lost anything if you plop into the middle of the story that most compels you,
Yeah, I don't really
of
think it's
these.
gonna take you out of it if you find out that the characters in the previous book got together at the end.
No, and it honestly, for me, I have gone into romance sort of series or
Yeah,
interconnected standalones like that, where I just sort of pick whichever one is most compelling to me and then sort of work my way backwards or work my way
totally.
back around. And sometimes I think that works just fine.
Love it. Well, my last pick, I'm so sorry, I will not cut because I'm so excited for this one. And I need you to look at the cover to see if the vibes that are in the description, we end up with the same thought. But this is Cape Fever by Nadia Davis, out December 9th. It's that kind of good thriller suspense that I like. Again, I love in the winter. But this is from award-winning South African author Nadia Davis, comes a gothic psychological thriller set in the 1920s where a young maid finds herself entangled with the spirits of a decaying manor and the secrets of its enigmatic owner. I come highly recommended to Mrs. Hatting through sentences I tell her I cannot read. The year is 1920 in a small, unnamed city in a colonial empire. Soroya Matas believes she has found the ideal job for a personal maid to the eccentric Mrs. Hatting, whose beautiful, decaying home is not far from the Muslim quarter where Soraya lives with her parents. As Soraya settles into her new role, she discovers that the house is alive with spirits. While Mrs. Hatting eagerly awaits her son's visit from London, she offers to help Soraya stay in touch with her fiance Noor by writing him letters on her behalf. So begins a strange weekly meeting where Soraya dictates and Miss Hatting writes, a ritual that binds the two women to one another and eventually threatens the sanity of both. Cape Fever is a masterful blend of gothic themes, folk tales, and psychological suspense, reminiscent of works by Sylvia Moreno Garcia and Daphne du Maurier. And Soraya Matthias is an unforgettable narrator whose story of love and grief is also a chilling exploration of class and the long reach of history. So, again, that is Cape Fever by Nadia Davids, out December 9th. It makes me think the yellow wallpaper, right?
It does. I literally said, "Ooh," when I saw that cover.
I was like, I know Emma's gonna be on this with me. And then as we go through the description, it again, like it's got that blend of different references. So
Literally, Charlotte Perkins Gilman,
please, I am
forever and always.
so in for this.
Yes, absolutely.
So I'm excited to end on that one, even though I would usually like tuck that somewhere in the middle. This is the book that I'm like, oh, this is gonna be my sleeper hit of this list. I can tell. So very excited. But Emma, thank you for being here today and sharing your list with me.
Thanks for having me. Hope there was something for everyone on this casual end of your book chat.
Absolutely. And of course, in the comments down below, because I have to say YouTube things, in the comments on this video, please tell me which of these books you would love to add to your TBR or you're planning to add to your TBR. I'm so happy to hear from you. It's really exciting. Thank you all for joining us today. Check out all these books. They are linked in the episode description. You can email me, bookloungebyLibby@overdrive.com, all that good stuff. And we'll see you in a future video. Emma, again, thank you and happy reading. You can sample and borrow the books from today's episode in the Libby app, or if you're a librarian, find them for purchase in Overdrive Marketplace. Book Lounge by Libby is a proud Evergreen Podcast signature program. Explore more amazing shows at evergreenpodcasts.com. This podcast is produced and recorded by me, Joe Skelly, with editing by Andrew Alonso. Our theme music is High Five by Rex Banner, used with permission. Book Lounge by Libby is presented by the Libby app. Learn more at libbylife.com/booklounge.